The bargain she couldn't refuse. The desert sun was relentless, beating down on the dusty trail that led to the outskirts of the ranch. Myra's thin shoes left shallow prints in the dirt as she trudged forward, her stomach gnawing with emptiness and her heart heavy with shame. She had nowhere to go, no family to turn to, and barely enough strength to hold herself upright. When she had left the town behind, desperation had driven her. Her clothes were worn and torn, her hair matted with dust. She had spent nights hiding in abandoned barns and fields, scavenging whatever scraps of food she could find. Each day had been a fight to survive, and each night she had prayed for a miracle. The ranch appeared like a promise on the horizon. A grand, sturdy house with a wraparound porch and smoke curling from the chimney. Myra's hope flared. Perhaps here she could find a way to live, if only for a little while. But as she approached, the reality of her situation pressed down on her. She had nothing to offer, no skills, no money, nothing but herself. "Please," she whispered under her breath. "Just shelter, just a chance to eat." The door opened before she could knock. A tall man stepped out, broad-shouldered, with eyes sharp and assessing. He was the kind of man whose presence demanded attention, the kind who rarely had visitors, let alone a bedraggled girl like Mira standing on his porch. "Can I help you?" His voice was calm, yet carried an authority that made her shrink back instinctively. I have nowhere to go. I'll do anything. Please, just some food, and a place to sleep." Her voice trembled, and her gaze dropped to the floor. The man studied her, his expression unreadable. His eyes softened slightly when they took in her hollow cheeks, the hollow of someone who had known hunger too well. "I could let you stay," he said slowly. "But you'll need to earn it. Work in the house, the barn, the fields, whatever I ask. And you'll obey my rules." Mira nodded frantically. Yes, anything. I'll do anything." He gave her a measured look, then stepped aside. "Come in." Relief flooded her. She didn't realize she had been holding her breath until she entered the house, where the scent of fresh bread and simmering stew filled the air. It had been days since she had smelled anything so warm, so comforting. Her work began immediately. She scrubbed floors, tended animals, cooked meals, and washed clothes. Her hands blistered, her back ached, and exhaustion followed her to bed each night. But she barely minded. For the first time in months, she had food in her belly and a roof over her head. That alone was enough to keep her going. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, the man, whose name she learned was Ronan, began to notice more than her work ethic. He noticed her quiet kindness, the way she smiled at the animals, the gentle patience she showed to the children who sometimes visited the ranch. Myra's presence brought warmth into the household, a warmth that even Ronan hadn't realized was missing. One evening, after dinner, Mira found herself sitting on the porch steps, staring at the sky streaked with oranges and purples. Ronan joined her, handing her a small cup of warm milk. "You've done well," he said simply. Mira blinked up at him, unsure if she had heard correctly. I'm just grateful, sir," she murmured. Ronan's eyes held hers, something unspoken passing between them. Then he smiled faintly, a rare, genuine smile. "Grateful, yes. But you deserve more than just food and shelter." Myra's heart fluttered nervously. I don't understand." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, velvet box. Opening it, he revealed a simple yet elegant ring. "This is for you," he said. "For everything you've given to this place, and for the place you've carved in my life." Tears welled in Myra's eyes. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came. The ring, a symbol of care and respect rather than possession, felt like a dream she had never dared to imagine. "Wait," Ronan added softly. "I've also arranged a room for you. Your own space, your own life here, without fear or hunger." Mira felt the weight of her past lift, replaced by a warmth she had not known in years. The woman who had traded herself for food and shelter was no longer just surviving, she was beginning to live. That night, as Mira lay in her new room, the soft light from the lantern casting gentle shadows on the walls, she allowed herself to hope. Maybe, just maybe, a future awaited her here, one filled with kindness, safety, and perhaps even love. Outside, the ranch lay quiet, the stars above blinking down like tiny promises. And Mira, once broken and desperate, finally felt whole again. A life rebuilt. The morning sun filtered through the curtains of Myra's new room, casting a warm glow over the simple furnishings. For the first time in months, she awoke feeling rested rather than anxious, her body free from the constant gnawing of hunger. The room smelled faintly of fresh linen and wood polish, a small comfort that made her feel safe, almost at home. She dressed quietly and stepped into the kitchen, where the aroma of freshly baked bread greeted her. Ronan was already there, tending to breakfast with his usual calm efficiency. His presence was no longer intimidating. Instead, it had become a source of steady reassurance. "Good morning," Mira said softly. "Good morning," he replied, glancing at her with a hint of a smile. "Sleep well." "Better than I have in months," she admitted. Ronan nodded, offering her a plate of eggs and toast. As she ate, Mira felt a warmth inside her she hadn't known she was missing. It wasn't just the food, it was the knowledge that she belonged somewhere, that someone cared enough to see her not as a burden, but as a person of value. Over the following weeks, life at the ranch settled into a comforting rhythm. Mira worked diligently, but she also began to explore small joys, watering the flowers in the garden, reading by the window in her quiet moments, and even helping Ronan with bookkeeping and chores. Her laughter began to fill the house, a sound that made the ranch feel alive in a way it hadn't before. One afternoon, as Mira tended to the horses, she noticed Ronan watching her from the porch. His expression was unreadable, but there was something tender in his gaze that made her heart skip a beat. "You've done a lot for this place," he said when she approached him. "More than you realize." I'm just grateful," Mira replied, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. "You saved me when no one else would." Ronan stepped closer, his voice lowering. "I didn't just save you. Mira, you've changed my life. You brought warmth, patience, and hope back into this house. I can't imagine it without you now." Her cheeks flushed, and she looked down, unsure how to respond. The ring on her finger felt heavier with meaning at that moment, a symbol not just of promise, but of connection. I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Then don't say anything," he replied gently. "Just stay. Stay with me. Let's build a life together, starting here." Tears welled in Myra's eyes, but they were tears of happiness, relief, and love. She had traded herself for survival once, but now, for the first time, she felt like she had chosen something of her own, a life filled with care, respect, and the possibility of love. Days turned into months, and Myra's presence transformed the ranch. The children from nearby farms, who had once been shy around Ronan, now adored her. She taught them to read, played games with them in the field, and even tended to their small injuries with gentle hands. The ranch became not just a place of work, but a home filled with laughter, learning, and life. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Ronan and Mira stood on the porch, watching the sky change from gold to deep indigo. "I've been thinking," Ronan said, his tone serious but soft. "This ranch, this home, it's yours as much as mine. I want you to feel that, every day." Mira turned to him, eyes wide. I do. More than I ever imagined I could." He took her hand in his, the simple gesture carrying more meaning than words ever could. "Then let's make a promise, here and now. No matter what comes, we face it together. We build a life full of trust, love, and family. Together. Mira nodded, squeezing his hand. Together. That night, as they sat by the fireplace, the ranch quiet around them, Mira allowed herself to fully let go of her past. The hunger, the desperation, the fear, they were all behind her. She had found a place where she was valued, cherished, and loved. And Ronan, once a solitary man, had found in Mira the warmth and companionship he never knew he needed. The ring on her finger sparkled in the firelight, a symbol not of a bargain or obligation, but of love, respect, and a future they would create together. The ranch, once just a shelter from hardship, had become a home, a place where two hearts, both scarred by life, could heal together. And for Mira, who had once traded everything just to survive, it was more than she had ever dared to hope for. As the fire crackled and the stars shone brightly outside, Mira whispered a quiet prayer of gratitude. She had survived, yes, but now she would truly live. And in the warmth of that home, she knew she had finally found where she belonged.